Hey, Jasen Rice here with LotParty. Again, as an intro to LotParty, if you've ever worked at a dealership, you know what a LotParty is. You go out on the physical lot, move cars around, spice up the lot. Maybe you got snow to clean up, but you get everybody on the crew to stir up that inventory and hopefully maybe get some more exposure and drive some traffic. So that's what this show is about, but it's about your virtual lot. What do we got to do to stir up that virtual lot to start driving traffic? Now, last week, this is a two-part series on recon turnaround time because it's so crucial and so important that I think this is the biggest area that dealership misses on. I work with so many dealerships, we get that turn going 10, 12 times, but they want to get to 15 or 17 turns and move some volume, but we can't get there because of their turnaround time. It takes 10, 14 days for these cars to get onto the lot, and that pushes cars to bleed through the middle bucket, and then if we don't sell them between 30 and 60, they bleed through to 60 plus. And that's what's keeping those dealerships from that true velocity, turning more cars with the dollars that you have. And so last week we talked to Dennis McGinn from Rapid Recon, talking about how there's systems and tools out there to help dealerships improve that, but mostly about the numbers. What is it really, how does it benefit a dealership to go from 10 days down to 7 days? And just a quick example of that, go check out episode 6 of that Rapid Recon interview. But if you just shaved off 3 days, you go from 10 to 7 days and your turnaround time in a month. You times that 3 days by 12 months in a year, that's 36 extra days in a year that you've turned your cars faster. That's over an extra month of sales. So if you average 100 cars a month at $2,000 front and back a copy, that's a lot of money you're leaving at the table. And if you don't think you can accomplish 3 days, cut that in half. And there's still there's still a ton of money left over on the table that if you can get that inventory turning faster. So what we're going to take today's show, I'm going to interview Jason Yates. He's the service director from this Hudson group. And the reason why I want to talk to him, because he's behind the scenes, he's scraping his knuckles to help the used car manager, the store, the general sales manager to turn that inventory around. So he's the guy that's orchestrating all this that's going on. I want to get his feedback of what they did to shave their time down, what kind of staffing they have, what do they do to shave more time off their day, some hints of what would be the best practices out the gate to do, and maybe what's some of the holdup, what's the biggest challenges that some dealers will have and what did they do about it. And I believe when you hear is, they're under 5 days. They're usually around 4 days turnaround time. And we're talking 150 plus size inventory in used cars, not including their new. And he's responsible for that too. So you're going to have a great interview with Jason. I'll cut it off here. And at the end, I'll wrap it up and we'll give you a quick tip of the month or of the week. So enjoy this interview with Jason. Thanks. All right. Hey, Jasen Rice here. We're going to be interviewing Jason Yates. He's the service director for the Hudson Auto Group. And what we want to do is a deeper dive on the back end of the turnaround time. As a manager, we want to make sure the turnaround time is running smoothly. We assume that everybody could do their job and get it done in 3 to 5 days. But there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that, a lot of used car managers, used car directors, GMs might not realize goes on in the back end that makes it the biggest struggle. So, Jason, give me a little bit of your background. How long you been in the automotive world and, how long you been with the group there?
Started in the automotive business in 1991 with a Hyundai store. I've been with Nissan since 1994. Been with the Hudson Automotive Group now going on 8 months.
Okay. And I know we're focusing on kind of one of the stores, the Hudson Nissan store. Tell me, let everybody know, how many new and used cars are typically going a month at those stores?
Typically on the new side, we sell about 140 to 150 a month, and on the used side, between 130 to 140.
Now, how much you carry to do that? Because, again, that's your job, is not so much what they sell, but the whole inventory, getting the whole inventory in and out. What's the inventory levels there? Off the top of your head, are we carrying 200-300 at those lots, new and used, or?
We usually carry 150 to 160 used, and probably have 230 to 240 new on the ground.
Now, last week I interviewed Dennis McGinn from Rapid Recon. I know you guys use Rapid Recon, and with that data, what's maybe your average turnaround time for used cars at your dealership right now?
Last month was our best month to date. It was 4.1 days.
Wow.
When I started with the group back in June of last year, I believe the average time, turnaround time was about 9 days.
Mm-hmm.
So we started a bunch of different processes and assembled a complete recon team, starting with an advisor. I added a parts guy, 4 technicians, So everybody over there has a role and know how important it is to get the cars in and out and on the front line as quick as possible.
Obviously, on new cars, you got to do the PDI, get the car ready, but then are you also responsible to help them turn around, getting it photoed and everything too on new?
Yes, I am. I just, starting this month, we went to a PDI tech that does nothing but the PDIs.
Okay.
And the turn time on that now is grown tremendously.
I should say. So, because you don't have parts holds and everything, body shop, stuff like that, PDI it, photo it, get it on, or clean it and get it on photoed, right? So turnaround time's pretty quick on those. So of that 150, 160 used, you got 4 techs working on those, or was one of the techs moved to PDI?
We have 4 techs dedicated to just recon.
Just used or both? New and used?
Yeah, 4 just for used and 1 for new PDIs.
Right,
so we have 5
total.
We have them in a separate facility right across the street from us. So.
Okay. How many detail guys do you guys run with?
We have 3 full-time detailers and then 4 regular car washers that do new car deliveries and all the PDIs.
Okay, so your detail guys, are they handling the any of the delivery? That they're not handling that, they're just detailing the cars, getting them ready for the lot, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so they're not distracted with a, hey, we got a delivery, can you get this done, and pulling away from the turnaround time, right?
No, their sole responsibility is used car details, getting ready for front line.
Nice. So what is your biggest holdup now that you got 4 days? Like, so most dealers, they'll try to say, oh, we got 7, 10 days. Most really, in reality, they're not tracking it and probably run 10 to 14 days a lot of times. One of the things we talked about last week is the dollars behind the benefit of turning them faster. An example I'd give is if they went from 10 days down to 7 days, if they just 3 days faster in a month, you times that by 12 months in a year, that's 36 extra days you're moving your inventory faster, and that's almost another month of selling. Well, it's more than another month of selling. So if a dealer sells 100 cars a month, in a year, just by shaving 3 days, you sell an extra 100 cars, and you times that by $2,000 a car, front and back. That's a lot of money sitting at the table. So worst case scenario, even if they cut that or only did half of that and cut it in a day and a half or even just a day, that's still a lot of money left on the table. So you set up a lot of processes. What was the key one? I mean, if a dealer is trying to get from 10 to 7 or 7 to 5 like you've done, what would you say would be the biggest area to focus on to start that out?
Accountability.
Okay.
Everybody in our recon team has a role. They have a job, and they know what's expected of them.
Okay.
So when that vehicle is moved throughout the process in rapid recon, when it goes in a particular bucket, that's someone's responsibility.
All right. And so they answer to rapid recon and yourself then?
Exactly. We have a meeting every evening at 5:30. The GSM, the used car manager, the service manager, and the whole recon team is present. And we go through each individual bucket and we discuss each and every single car. If there's one that's fallen outside our parameters, we find out what happened, why this was taking extra time, and how we can prevent that from happening on the next one. Yes. So it's really a team effort. And where I came from in Florida, I was over 4 stores. We sold about 250 used cars a month. And I tried to do all this on what Rapid Recon does on my own, and it was, I don't know how I did it without this.
Yeah. Yeah, and I talked to Dennis last week. I said, it's not so much to promote your tool, but obviously you're a solution. There's probably others out there. I know vAuto can do a little of it. I've seen Excel spreadsheets doing it. But to try to wrap your hands around it, and the accountability part, I know with Rapid Recon, it'll text a person when they got a car in their bucket. They got to clock that car out. And especially if you're doing daily reviews and they've got to answer to their problems, they're going to be on top of it. So you have detailers, recon, they answer to you, right? And then you're working with the GSM and or the used car manager. I guess the used car manager, you work as a team and answering to the general sales manager. Or how's that roll out?
Yeah, we basically all work together on this project. I mean, it starts from the minute that the vehicle gets stocked into inventory, or if it's delivered from being purchased. Everybody has a role as soon as that car hits the ground. And without everybody working together, it wouldn't be as seamless as it is here. But
yeah.
It's all accountability is what it falls down. Accountability and processes.
So one of the side notes, and it just dawned on me, I got spoiled. The dealerships that I worked at actually had a machine that would wash the cars, and but I go into a lot of dealers and it's a hose and a bucket, and guys are cleaning up that way, and I'm seeing a lot of that more than machine. Do you guys have a car wash that you're pushing these cars through, expediting them quicker, or are you guys kind of hand washing those things?
We do. No, we've got a drive-through automatic car wash, and we have 4 detail bays that are utilized just for used car details.
Mm-hmm. And now one of the things that I think about as dealers pulling cars around to detail, one of the examples I give, especially somebody doesn't have a rapid recon, I want you to answer this, but a porter might pull in the morning and he's got 2 cars sitting there, or a detail guy, and see 2 cars sitting there, and they remember, well, that one came last night and that one just pulled around, so they usually would tend to pull the one that came in last night because it was there first. But what we try to train the dealers to get those guys to understand is they got to understand how old those cars are, because that car that pulled around yesterday might be 2 days old, and the one that just pulled up this morning might be 14 days old, so they need to be going after that 14-day-old car. And I guess something like Rapid Recon expedites that for you, or they'll know which cars to go after?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Everybody has Rapid Recon at the touch of their fingertips on their mobile device, so they're constantly checking it. They get an alert when a car gets put in their bucket. It shows the total days that car has been in the recon process, and we manage it like that. The oldest car is the first to get out.
Nice. So then your role when you come in now, you said accountability would be the major one, so having a service director looking over all this stuff is crucial, because you got so many parts moving, and not just parts, but body shop. I mean, you got so many departments you got to manage. What's kind of the first thing you do in the morning? What's your steps of the day?
Well, first we come in and we go through the trades from yesterday, or any purchase cars that were dropped off. And we do that with our used car manager, general sales manager, general manager, service manager, and the recon advisor. We do that trade walk every single morning, and anything that's new that's recently come into inventory, that's when the RO is generated and the process starts. So this is a every morning occurrence that happens.
Cool. So as you guys are doing that trade walk, I'm assuming maybe the guy that appraised the car or somebody would go over, hey, service manager, here's what I think the car needs, this, and this, and I'm running. Do you guys run through, hey, I figured 1,200 recon tires, brakes, and the service guy would kind of glance it over, yeah, but we won't know until we lift it. I mean, what are those steps, or what are those conversations as you do that walk?
Well, normally, we'll just kind of walk around and do a quick visual on the body and the interior. Once that's completed, the RO is generated, we dispatch it to one of the 4 recon techs, and then that's when the process starts as far as anything the vehicle needs, any kind of estimates. They have a certain cap where they don't have to get any kind of approval. Okay, good. So we leave that up to them a little bit, as far as them having a little bit of leeway is not waiting on okays, and it just speeds the process up a lot. But if there's anything, say over $1,000 that needs to be done, then it goes through the used car manager as well as GSM. And if there's any doubt that we could keep this car, then we'll all get together and say, hey, does it make sense to put this much money in this car, or does it make sense to send it to the auction, which I hate. I want everything to stay here, of course. So, we'll put our heads together and we'll all try to work out a solution where it benefits every department. Okay. And then and I'm just, again, imagine those conversations and questions dealers might have. Who's the ultimate decision maker on that? I think the way in of that recon person, them saying, I could fix this, this, and this, and it's going to cost, $1,800. I don't know if I'd put that money in it. I guess another question is, okay, if you fix that, what else could be down the road? And they say, well, this could happen, and then I guess how much weight does that hold, obviously, and then who's pulling that trigger? Is it the used car manager or yourself, or who's making that decision? Well, actually, it's usually me and our GSM will get together and make that decision. The used car manager is involved as well, but the GSM pretty much has the final say as to whether we're going to keep that car, recon it, what price we're going to do it for, which we work really well together to get that done, because every car that leaves the premise going to an auction is money that we're all losing. So
now, those you guys run in store hours, 8 or 9 to 7, 8 o'clock at night, or those detailed people? Obviously, again, where I came from and what we've done, we've had detail people are, clean up for deliveries, but the detail people sometimes are working shop hours. Do you guys work shop hours? Or are they there, the detail people and the recon people there, the store hours, not the shop hours?
Yeah, we're shop hours from 7 to 6.
Okay.
And then also on Saturdays, 8 to 4.
All right. So, because I also had some dealers that were pretty smart, and they happen to have a security guy that they hired at night to, patrol the perimeters, and they realized, you know what? This guy, majority of times, is sitting there reading a book and keeping an eye on the cameras and this and that. And they actually had that guy, part of his job description at night, turned into a photographer and saying, hey, as you're just sitting here all night, take some pictures of cars. And they had their turnaround time down to a little under, I think it was 3.78 last time I seen it. And they're running 150, 200 cars. And that was one of those big steps, is taking that night guy and making those photos done. And I know that it's something you guys aren't doing, but I was kind of drawn back by that, and I thought that was a pretty smart move, because he was already there anyways. Wow. What is the biggest obstacle, would you say? If that used car manager, come on, we're at 5 days, we should be down to 3 days, and you could say, step back and go, yeah, but you don't realize this, and this. What are some of those holdups that really tie things up?
The biggest obstacle we run into is when it needs any kind of paint or body repair, because we don't have an on-site collision or body shop here. So we've got 3 or 4 different facilities we send them to, and the turnaround time at those facilities is pretty difficult.
Yeah. So how do you dictate who gets them? Is it whoever can get it in fastest and turn it around, or whoever specializes and does a better job at that particular item? I mean, how do you expedite or pick out the body?
Whoever can turn the job around the quickest. Ones we use are all about the same price, so it's really not a price issue. It's just how quick can you get this back to me?
Okay. And then internally on the lot, what's some of the holdups? Let's assume somebody that has an internal body shop, but parts holds, obviously recalls. I mean, what's that? One excuse you would say that you're given pretty much a lot of the time, other than body shop, that might hold some of these things up.
It used to be parts hold until I hired a guy that he works down at the recon center, and his sole responsibility is parts. So
nice.
That's what really sped our turnaround time.
Okay.
We dropped almost 2 days once he got started and started taking responsibility of that role. So what was happening before is our regular parts department was so bogged down that they would sit on that ticket all day long before they would price anything or find out any kind of availability or order anything. So that was probably the best move we made, was putting that parts guy in there. In that recon facility, so he's right there beside those guys. Okay,
so that's an added layer that you've added there, but you would say it's well worth that expense then, with that turnaround time and everything?
Absolutely.
So that's another good take, because again, that's some of that internal stuff behind the scenes that, how do we shave, you say, a couple days off? It could be just a dedicated parts person that can do the running, do the pricing and everything to expedite that a lot quicker, huh?
Right, and we also have a dedicated porter lot attendant just for recon as well, that does all the shuffling of vehicles, off-site recalls, other dealers, collision centers. So we have a pretty good support staff. We've got a pretty special group back there.
And this, I guess, another question, because I know I ran into it when I ran an independent lot. We had to put even service out to other people. Those companies, and this is some of those things where how much accountability can I make that other company is, do they provide the transportation, or is that up to you to get it to them, or because you do so much business, they come and pick it up and bring it back? And I know some of the go ahead.
I wish. No, we've got to do most of all the legwork.
Now, our guys they'd actually have their crew bring it coming back and forth, but we would run into a hold where it's like, come on, this car's been sitting here 3 hours. Where's your guy? Well, he got tied up, so we would just go run it ourselves real quick. But, there are that abilities to maybe help have those make those people accountable. As much business that you take, do you think that's an avenue that you could open up, is having them, as much business as you provide them, be able to shave some of that time down? Or
I think that's something that we could probably do better on, as far as getting all of our vendors to start helping us out a little bit more. Yeah. All of our parts vendors are really good about delivering really quickly, so they deliver right to the recon center. Of course, Nissan stuff comes through our main parts department, but that's we're on next day stock order with Nissan, so that's normally not a hold up. So the parts. There's really not many parts issues, which is usually your number one issue.
Yeah. So we got to wrap up here. We got a minute left, but you would say in order to get things turned around, one is going to be accountability. Two, I would say personnel. Go ahead and maybe step up and spend a little bit extra on that parts guy, or added detail person, or added recon person that's dedicated to just the turnaround of reconning cars and not just customers. And then, again, working a little bit better with your vendors. Is there anything else that you'd want to add real quick to any of those things?
I think process. You've got to have processes in place. Like we have a daily recon meeting, we have a trade walk every morning. Everybody knows what their role is. Everybody knows how important it is to get this car on the front line as quick as possible. I think that's, just accountability and people and processes is the three main.
Build the process, get your people, get the accountability, and then once you do that, you'll find holes and be able to start fine-tuning it down to get to the numbers that you guys are doing. You guys are doing a great job. I appreciate the time. Thank you for taking some time out of your afternoon. I know you're busy, and again, we'll talk to you soon. Appreciate it.
Okay, sounds great, Jason. Thank you.
Bye. And that was a great interview with Jason this week. And again, he dug deep into what it really takes. And that's a lot that they do between staffing and accountability and the meetings that they do every week. It's just amazing what they do to get that stuff turned around. But those are things, maybe you grabbed one or two ideas that you can apply to your store today to help grind that turnaround time, because you can grind an extra day off even. You're going to be able to see huge results. So that wraps up this show. I'm going to give you a quick tip at the end of this show here, and we'll see you next week on LotParty. Thanks. Hi, Jasen Rice with Lotpop. I want to go over what we do to help dealerships improve new car operations. A lot of dealerships out there are running a set it and forget it pricing strategy on their new cars. And what I mean by that, there's a lot of cool software out there that allow you to put a pricing strategy in down to year, make, model, even trim, and sometimes even color, and say, hey, I want invoice minus rebate or 200 under invoice minus rebate on these particular cars, and they push it out. But then from there, it's kind of a set it, forget it. And we've actually going away against the grain on that kind of strategy. We focus on dealers that use the Conquest tool with vAuto. And what we do is in threefold areas. We treat it like used car inventory. One fold is we're going to do a weekly review call. And with that weekly review call, we're going to analyze that inventory. And actually prior to the meeting, we're pulling the data out of vAuto, pulling the inventory, and we're going to slice and dice it 10 different ways. We're looking at cars that have a higher day supply than the overall high competitive set, cars we didn't price change in a while. We're also looking at cars to make sure that they're flat priced. Instead of after rebates, invoice after rebates, that price being $24,172, we're rounding that down to 24 even, so we hit that 24 grand bucket on Auto Trader to get our SRPs and our VDPs up on that vehicle. So we're shifting that inventory, not just a invoice minus rebate price point, we're going to flat price those, and then again we're going to look at inventory that we haven't touched in 3 or 4 weeks, looking at cars that are underperforming in the market, looking at cars with larger competitive sets. The next part of that meeting is actually analyzing trends. Lotpop is going to go and pull all this data from all different systems, from AutoTraderCars.com, from your vAuto, and we're going to grab all this data and trend it out. So week after week, we're going to be able to see if 2015 F-150s, if there's been an increase in the market day supply, if there's been an increase in our market day supply, if there's more volume coming in or less volume being sold. We're actually trending those data out down by the year, make, model, and be able to analyze what cars that we need to attack during that meeting call. So that's the second fold, is the trend report that we do. The third thing is that we're going to do a virtual lot walk. We encourage you, you're going to have to do photos, and we have to do very compelling descriptions on those cars. You're going to have to do that as a dealer, and what we're going to do is make sure that those cars are what they intend to be out there. If they have photos of sunroofs and navs, we're going to make sure that's in the description. Or if it's in the description, we're going to make sure we have photos of those. That right there will increase your SRPs and VDPs. So as a recap, we're going to do a virtual lot walk, put our stamp of approval that your cars are standing tall in line. 2, we're going to pull out a bunch of trending data. So weekly, we're going to be able to know where to attack your inventory so we don't wait till the end of the month and scratch our head and wonder what happened. And 3, we do that weekly review call, attack that inventory together, watch those trends, and that right there, we've seen dealerships having 20-30% increase in volume in their new car inventory. If you have any questions or concerns, call me at 844-LOTPOP4, email me at jrice@lotpop.com, or check out my weekly videos at increaseturn.com. Thanks.